times in the history of our great nation calls for concerted effort of all to bring back the good old days of a united Nigeria, where our generation enjoyed values that made life easy, simple, and progressive. Where values that made all these happen hinged on a line in our former national anthem, which reads, and I quote, "Though tongue and tribe may differ, in brotherhood we stand," end of quote. Today, what revolves around us is visibly ethnicity and hate speech that has become pervasive in our society, so much so that it is widening the social distance among different ethnic groups that make up our country. Sadly, this has aggravated ethnicity, selfishness, religious hatred, which has the potency of causing serious crises in our nation-building effort. There is therefore an urgent need to do something about hate speech now. And that's our focus on this special edition of Bridges, as we deliberate on how best to curb hate speech, strengthening the divide on these options of either explicitly prohibit hate speech or embark on a deliberate national campaign to all, irrespective of tribe, religion, or status, to desist on whatever constitute hate speech. This is Bridges, working for a sustainable society. My name is Mojima Konchola, and this is a special edition of the program. There is therefore an urgent need to do something about hate speech now. That's our focus on this edition of Bridges, as we deliberate on how best to curb hate speech, strengthening the divide on these options of either explicitly prohibit hate speech or embark on a deliberate national campaign to all, irrespective of tribe, religion, or status, to desist on whatever constitutes hate speech. This is Bridges, working towards a sustainable society. My name is Mojima Konchola, and this special edition is on the impact of hate speech on nation building. And that's where we're going today on the program. And I'd like to welcome all of us here. We have on the panel, right in the middle, we have Chioma Amechi, who is the head Learning Center, National Film and Video Censors Board. Ma'am, you're welcome on Bridges.
Thank you.
And I have my old teacher, I would say, right there at the extreme, because the media has become so important to this discussion today, Dr. Emmanuel Usman Shehu, who is the Director, International Institute of Journalism, Abuja. You're welcome on Bridges. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And we have the father of Bridges, we call him, who is a peace ambassador. So apt to have him here, Dr. Padin Njoku, as always. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very
and
much.
representing us, the rest of us Nigerians, I have here vibrant Nigerians, men and women, who are ready to lend their voices to either stop or to find tools, strategic tools that will bind us rather than what we have that is dividing us. So I'll just quickly go to the panelists, and any of you can really kick it off. When did we get here?
I think it's a reflection of the degeneration in our society as a whole. We've become a very lawless society. We don't respect basic rules of engagement. Etiquette has totally broken down. Growing up, you learned in school to discuss in a civil manner. That's totally gone. People want to ram down their opinions on you and are not even ready to listen to you. And you cannot engage in meaningful discussion if there is no communication and if people are not willing to listen, and if people are only willing to force their opinion violently, verbally, and so it's a reflection of where we are today as a country that has become generally lawless.
Is that your opinion?
Yes, but I must add that the youth have lost faith in leadership. When you lose faith in leadership, what do you expect? We've not been able to address the root cause of agitations or hate speech. And the root cause, if it's not tackled, there's no way you can think of building a healthy society.
Yeah, okay. So it's very fundamental. And sir, what are we hearing from you?
I think they've started it all well. We used to belong to literary and debating societies in schools when we would prove to the other side that we could defeat them by force of argument and not by argument of force. And since 1966, when things started happening in this country by violence and immediate effect, unfortunately, after a generation, you know, a generation is 50 years, the new generation has imbibed gradually this use of force. As somebody said, the thoughtless one, the thoughtful ones have yielded space to the thoughtless ones. The speakers have yielded space to the dumb and deaf, who normally use their fists. And unfortunately, we are heading towards a national collective death wish if we don't do anything to stop hate speech. Because hate speech everywhere is a precursor to mass killing and genocide. It happened in Germany, it happened in Rwanda, it happened in Burundi, it happened in RDC.
It's still there.
And it's still there.
Well, it happened here in 1966.
And of course it happened
it's
here.
part of what created the problem in
I think we're suffering
1966.
from amnesia.
Yeah.
We had the experience, we had a pogrom, and those drum beats are starting again.
And we haven't learned from that.
Yeah.
And we haven't learned from that. That's what I
Yes.
mean by amnesia,
I
actually. We seem to
know,
have forgotten
Yes.
so soon.
So soon, and yet it's with us. And so I'll just quickly go to members of the audience. I mean, the panelists have set the pace for us. And as much as possible, we know we have a problem. Now, going forward, and quickly too, we cannot wait.
No.
What do we do? Which way forward? Yes, any of you can start. Yeah. Okay.
I think for a very long time, there was no issue of sanction, and hate speech was not punishable. And we've come to realize that hate speech is as a result of selfish interest. So I think there should be a punishable offense, and the leaders of this group should be held responsible. Because if we are not careful, I mean, we all know that hate speech can result to national security, and of course it can hamper the peace of a nation, and as well destroy national development. So the leaders of this group should be held responsible, and there should be a punishable offense in order to stop.
Should be a punishable. That's your opinion. Let's know you before you handle it. Yes.
My name is Helen Okon, publisher, CEO, Business Review Africa.
Thank you.
And also a member of the Media and Information Literacy.
Yes. By your side then. Yes.
Yes. My opinion is...
Let's know you first.
Okay, my name is Barrister Kehinde Edun. I'm the National Secretary of the Progressive People's Alliance, PPA. Yes, I think hate speech, if we look at it, it is a speech that is perceived to degrade a person or a group of people based on their religion, their tribe, their ethnicity, their sex, their height, their weight, and all this. And I think hate speech has always been here. We've always had it. But the problem now is the perception of the people. Because just as it is said that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, so also hate sometimes is in the ears of the listener, of the hearer. People are set on edge. And I think it is not justified. We may say that our people have been oppressed for a long time. They have been repressed. And because of that, they are set on edge. So they tend to react negatively. So there is hate in the heart of many people. And when there is hate in the heart, it is from the abundance of the heart that the mouth speaketh. Okay. And because hate is also in the mind of the hearer, so also whatever is said is perceived to be hate speech. So I think we should be cautious. Our people should be cautious, because if we are not cautious, the government will now need to now pass very draconian laws to be able to stem this trend. So I think though the people are angry, but we should be cautious so that our liberty is not further encroached upon, okay, and so that
I think
we will not be encouraging
point. Yes. Okay.
Thank you so much. My name is Kunle Shomoye. I'm a political consultant and a public affairs analyst. And from the perspective of the law, there's something my lawyer friend told me yesterday. He said there's mens rea and there's actus rea. The mens rea is the intention, something that has been intended, and it is shown in speeches consistently. And the actus rea, it is the action of that intended speech. So, in law, that hate speech should be punishable, because when you look at the people that are head of the groups that, like she rightly mentioned, they have their own selfish interest. Most of them can easily leave this country when the trouble started, and when the trouble starts. And you could see in the president's speech where he mentioned that, of course, people leave when the trouble starts, and we have not learned from our mistakes. So we need, as much as possible, to ensure to actually campaign for peace, and at the same time, there should be punishment for these people.
Okay.
My name is Ngozi Kenga, the chairperson of International Federation of Women Lawyers, Abuja branch. We're talking about hate speech. I think the bottom line is for us to go back to the drawing board. Moral values are gone, and gone with love. So we need to get back to that. And that our politicians have so destroyed this country that they instigate the younger ones. In developed countries, things are put in place, and you are born into it. You are born into it. You will meet it, and that was how it was when we were born, when we were growing up. The family value is there. That you key into it. You are not taught. But when things began to change, like the father of Bridget said, that from the 1966, politics here and there, people are being instigated, the younger ones, because it is what you are taught as a growing child that you come up with. So, like others have said, we need laws that will actually regulate this cankerworm that is eating into our society, so that things can be done rightly.
My name is James Komolafe. I'm the senior consultant, Saba Clinics, which is a behavioral clinic. Looking at society, building society, and developing economies, portends that every stakeholder, the government, the citizenry, should focus on strategies that will build the nation in pragmatic terms. I grew up from an environment of that old photography, the analog photography, where negatives are developed in the dark room. So if we must, of necessity, develop Nigeria and look for a new Nigeria as we build bridges, we must price so high the value of our individual and corporate emotional intelligences. I think that has nosedived so great. So we need to create new ecosystem, and that begins from our emotional personalities. How do we react to issues? Do we just say things are bad and we keep venting out and ventilating anger on the society? It will never build a sane and peaceful economy. So it begins from all of us. We have to go back to the drawing board and generate a new emotional ecosystem that will create the new reality that we are looking for.
Yes, at the extreme here.
Comrade Ame Samuel. I'm an advocate of youth and good governance and the national president of Igala Youth Congress worldwide. The youth have lost value. The government and the citizens are all guilty of hate speech. Hate speech is a scourge that must be discouraged. It portends a looming danger that we must not allow to foster longer in the society.
So which way forward?
The research so far, there are the two major factors of hate speech are religion and ethnicity. And as such, the religious leader and the ethnic leader must not instigate their followers. They must not incite their followers, and they must caution their followers in taking laws into their hands. And the government must be open for conversation to promote national understanding. The government must be open to dialogue. There are agitation here and there, ethnic problem, religious problem, injustice, people clamoring for injustice, and the rest of them. And as a result of this, these are the things that are causing hate speeches up and down. And the resultant is very detrimental.
Okay. Anybody at the back, please? I'll move it straight to the audience. Let me come to the panelists. And just before we have anybody speak there, there's been the fact that the media has been part of the group that is actually firing hate speech within us. Dr. Shehu, I'd like your comment on this.
As somebody who is directly involved with the media, unfortunately, this is very true. But again, it's a reflection of the fact that we do not have structures to hold people responsible for encouraging such demeanors in the society. And by that I mean, for instance, if a media platform is used in such a negative way, what are the repercussions? The structures that should be in place should be such that the media house is sanctioned or the persons directly involved are sanctioned. But you discover that nothing like that exists because the Press Council, for instance, which should be the main body responsible for ensuring that people are penalized for such misdemeanors, is virtually a toothless bulldog.
All right, yes. Let's go to the quickly, ma'am.
My name is Esther Omaka, Federation of Women Lawyer. I'm Assistant Secretary, Federation of Women Lawyer, Abuja. I just want to say there is no law at the moment that talks about hate speech, apart from the Section 39 that says about freedom of speech. I think parents, elders, religious leaders should be able to curtail this hate speech by speaking to the youth who are perpetrators of this, because the youth listen to them, they fund them, and as a result of that, they go to the streets, destroying and causing trouble in the society. I believe that if there is law now, people will be able to stop this hate speech, and punishments will be upon anyone that violates the law.
Okay. Right. Yes.
Right. Thank you. Just a moment. You asked a question before that. What is the way forward, right? And I also realized that because I'm a young person, and I use Facebook, I use Twitter a lot, and I've interacted with a lot of like minds, and I've also checked comment sections of news where I see the vituperations, and sometimes I just go to bed because it's too sad. Like there is no way we can fix this problem. Everyone is against each other at each other's throats. Every young person, and it's like they don't even know history. So the fact is, yeah, the acting president before the president came had already termed the word hate speech as an act that may lead to that is terrorism. So how do we, like social media, unlike the conventional media, that are being regulated, social media is not regulated. It's a chaotic world out there. So when the security in chief, met with the president, the suggestions I believe they gave was that they will start to monitor certain words that should be flagged.
And that is also causing a bit of a problem there, because I was reading on, yes.
Yeah, I would like to say that what he has said is a reflection of a reality, that technology goes ahead of laws. And this is a clear example of it, that the cyberspace is largely not regulated, like you had said. Yes. And therefore, it calls for rapid response. We need a rapid response, because everybody now is a journalist, one way or the other. Everybody is a blogger. Everybody is a photographer. Everybody is a publisher, simply because digital technology has made it possible.
Possible.
And therefore, the immediate response is to create laws which may not even be laws that we've been familiar with in the past, because this calls for a whole new approach.
That's it.
Because
Absolutely.
we cannot continue with cyberbullying, fake news, which are the things that drive
the
hate speech.
Yes, at the back, please.
My name is Kunle Lawal. I'm National Publicity Secretary for Kowa Party. And I would like to draw a sequence to this whole system, this whole thing. First of all, what has really been done to promote unity in Nigeria? I remember growing up, I remember when Nigeria was 25. There's this theme song that still rings in my head till today. Nigeria is 25. But now there's nothing done to promote unity. So what would you have? You would have chaos. Second, I'd like to talk about the media houses. Why do you make statements like, pardon me, but you hear radio stations saying a Yoruba man was caught doing this here in a Hausa state, or I find it shocking. I don't think the media should operate within that. Next, the generation before us, we are just a product of what you think. Don't blame us that we've changed. We didn't change. You guys taught us to think that way.
Yes. We keep saying sanctions. Like you said, what have you put in place to help people who are agitating, people who are angry, people who feel like throwing bombs, speech bombs to others? Like National Film and Video Censors Board, with the help of UNESCO, we have a media literacy program, and hate speech is one of those things that we go to teach children. And when we talk about root of hate speech, you think about leaders, the way they speak, the way they judge things. Yesterday I was listening to news. I heard one governor was saying that people who are agitating because are people who lost elections. That was wrong, and at the wrong time. When you say things like that, I saw people then say no. When leaders don't speak right, and they don't want to find out the root cause of hate speech, or you can't beat a child and ask the child not to cry. You beat a child, the child will cry. Then you go back to the child and say, please, why did you do this? And correct the child. Put things in place so that the youth won't be able to.
Right, let's hear from you. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Good morning. My name is Abioye Ayeni. I'm a professional, passionate about social issues. Now, I think it's too amorphous to say hate speech, because in the democratic space, the default is free speech. And why is this so? It's a marketplace of ideas. Ideas are supposed to collide. But freedom has limitations. And within our laws, within our jurisprudence, the lawyers should be able to guide us better, in the sense that there is label, there is slander, there is incitement. There is even copyright laws. These are limits to how much freedom, curtailment to free speech. So by allowing things to go beyond those limits, we now start labeling it in a way that is not too helpful.
Okay. I can see signs from my director saying that our time is almost up, but this conversation will continue. Let's just have some final word as we try to put an end to this episode, and I can assure you viewers that we'll continue again, same people next week, but in the interim, let's hear from you.
Well, I want to say, everybody has been talking about laws and legislations. You don't build character with legislations. Character is built right from the home. I, who am sitting here, there are certain words I've told my children not to pronounce.
Exactly.
I said, these words do not resemble our family. And once you use them outside, people will wonder whether you are my children. So all of us have a responsibility. As my friend Pastor said, we must build a social ecosystem that allows every tree, every plant to live. God is so wise to have created us differently so that we can.
You started with Old Testament anthem. I conclude with second stanza of Nigeria: guide our leaders' rights, and are you the truth to know?
My take is, other countries have experienced this, and we must learn from what other countries have done.
Yes.
It's
Really.
not rocket science.
Yes, we really must wake up to the seriousness of what we are discussing here today. It affects everyone, and it cuts across age, status, whoever you are. So long as we have these negative, as it were, hate speech coming on, we really cannot focus on what we should be focusing on, which is accelerating development in Nigeria and making us live truly as the big brother Africa. And until we get there and we have personal and collective commitment to this, we probably will not be able to build that bridge, which I'm so eager for my children to be able to live in, and of course my grandchildren. And I think we all share the same opinion.
Yes.
This conversation will continue same place, same time next week. Thanks for watching. Let's hear from you, and that way together we can have an ecosystem that will accelerate development in Nigeria. Thanks for watching.